Bolstered Up Sports and Warzone Sports Network's Sports Force. I'm going to call it that show in a minute. Sorry, guys. We have to get to that show. Guys, how are you all feeling for Super Bowl Sunday?
I'm ready to go. Super Bowl Sunday. I've got my chicken wings ready to go. A little lemon pepper, a little hot wings. I'm good.
I don't have to say his name, but we know how I'm feeling today about that special
Apologies
guy,
to those. Steezy A. Smith will be joining us just shortly. But before he hops in, we are going to get this show started right away. Quarterbacks is Brian Bolster's thing, so I'm going to start with him on this one. We have Joe Burrow, or as a certain person on this guest likes to call him, Joseph Lee Burrow. We have got Matt Stafford. Which of these two quarterbacks has to have a big game for their team to win?
Oh, that's Joe Burrow. He's got much more pressure than Matthew Stafford. And I don't mean just pressure from like a legacy sort of standpoint, but I mean pressure to perform. He's a much larger percentage of that offense. And I know that Matthew Stafford has the stats. He has more yards, more touchdowns, all of that. But they have more of a safety net there in LA with their offensive line. The run game didn't look great against the Bucks, obviously. It's been stifled a little bit, but just from a schematic standpoint, you can disguise a quarterback if he's struggling a little bit better in that Sean McVay offense, which, comes from that big Shanahan tree. A little bit more than Joe Burrow, who's going to sit back in the pocket and just sling it all night under duress from Aaron Donald, Von Miller, Leonard Floyd. And I know we like Joe Mixon. He's a good running back, but I just don't see the Bengals really living through the ground game. So for me, it's Joe Burrow without a doubt.
Matt Stafford has to have a bigger game, I think, as it pertains to the overall success of the teams. I've been saying it all week. Joseph Lee Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals have nothing to lose. Now obviously, like they'll lose the Super Bowl, obviously. But in the grand scheme of things, they're way ahead of schedule. They're not supposed to be in the Super Bowl this soon with this roster. So Matt Stafford has, and I love Matt Stafford, and Matt Stafford has got all these people saying that he can't perform in the big games and he can't do this and he can't do that. And in the biggest game of his career, Matt Stafford has to play Matt Stafford has to play the best game of his career in the biggest game of his career. We're going to see Joe Burrow in a couple more of these, I think, in his career. There's no guarantee that we see Matt Stafford in another one of these after tonight. So Matt Stafford has to have a much bigger game than Joe Burrow, I think. Yeah, he's got Cooper Kupp, he's got OBJ, he has Cam Akers, Sony Michel in the backfield, a much better defense than the Bengals do, much better offensive line than the Bengals do, obviously. There's much more weapons and a much bigger safety net for Matt Stafford, as Brian mentioned. But Matt Stafford's got an entire career really to define and vindicate with a win tonight, and not just with a win. I don't mean like a blowout. I mean like Matt Stafford has to play like the Matt Stafford that a lot of people, Dan Orlovsky, myself, a lot of Lions fans, Rams fans, all think that he can be. Joe Burrow could go out there and lay an egg. Not that he would, but like Joe Burrow is going to be here again. He's going to have a lot more big game moments. We don't know how many more times we're going to see Matt Stafford in a Super Bowl in another big game. So I feel like Matt Stafford has to have the bigger game tonight.
I'm going to lean on what Brian says because we've all seen what this Mike Shanahan offense does for quarterbacks and the ease in which the reads make the game for them. And as you mean, there's more to rely on in terms of what's in LA than in Cincinnati. And I mean, the offense can go up there and not have the greatest game. They have Aaron Donald on the other side. They can win a defensive matchup. Like you can lean on that pass rush with Aaron Donald, Leonard Floyd, and Von Miller. I am going to see, as we welcome in Stevie A. Smith into the broadcast, I'm going to see the Joe Burrow because I don't know what. Sorry, that's a lie. I do know what the Bengals look like without a good Joe Burrow. It's called 2021 or 2020. Sorry, like without Joe Burrow having a good game, do we honestly expect the Bengals to compete here for the Super Bowl? And it's not like their defense is otherworldly. Sure, their front seven is pretty good, but that back end can be had. I just feel like if Matt Stafford doesn't have the greatest of games, that the Rams can still lean on Aaron Donald and that pass rush to win a game. Steezy, as we welcome you in here, first question, as we said, Joe Burrow, Matt Stafford, which of these two quarterbacks needs to have the bigger game for their team to win Super Bowl 56?
Hey, first of all, good morning. How you guys doing? What's up, Brian, Dwayne, Justin, Neil? Hope you guys are feeling wonderful. To answer the question, this one's tough. I'm gonna have to say, I think just by a hair, I'm gonna say Matthew Stafford, just because I know this team is indestructible. I know this team is super stacked, super loaded. They have all the talent in the world, but I feel like the only real time they lose is when Matthew Stafford either throws a pick party or the offense self-implodes. And more often than not, it's Matthew Stafford either throwing a pick party or kind of just making a boneheaded mistake. I know Joe Burrow's built for this stage. I don't know if Matthew Stafford is. And so I just feel like Matthew Stafford needs to have the better game. I feel like Joe Burrow, we've seen him succeed despite being harassed by a heavy pass rush in Tennessee, 9 sacks a couple of weeks ago. We've seen him succeed in all sorts of circumstances. Matthew Stafford, I don't think he's as proven. And they usually lose when he plays bad. So I feel like ultimately he's going to have to play better if the Rams are to win this thing.
Both teams seem to have loaded offenses, like on the wide receivers and also two very good running backs. This time I'll start with you, Dwayne. Which team do you think has the better skill position group? And we're talking on one side, Cooper Kupp, OBJ, Cam Akers. And on the other side, we're looking at, oh my gosh, names are fighting me right now. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. Which is the better skill position group?
I think it's a lot closer than people would like to admit, but the Rams have the better skill position group, obviously. They have the two better wide receivers. I think that Cam Akers and Sony Michel are slightly better than the running back tandem that the Bengals have by a hair or two. I don't think that the discrepancy is that large with the running backs, but OBJ and Cooper Kupp are, I think, light years better than Jamar Chase. At this point, I think they're light years better than Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, and T. Higgins. I love Jamar Chase, love T. Higgins, love Tyler Boyd. They're going to be Super Bowl champions in a couple of hours. It's going to be great. But Cooper Kupp posted one of, if not the best season in NFL history for a wide receiver this season. We all know how great OBJ is, and we kind of forgot that because he was in New York and then unfortunately had to suffer with Baker Mayfield as a quarterback for the past couple of seasons. Now that he's with a competent coach and a competent quarterback, we're remembering just how talented he is. So, yeah, the Rams have the better skill position group, but that doesn't mean that the Bengals' skill position guys are not talented, because they are talented as well.
Brian, or are you going to lean towards Bengals?
I actually do lean towards the Bengals a little bit here. I do think that Jamar Chase, Higgins, and Boyd are the better receiving core overall. But it's a difference, and I definitely think Joe Mixon's the best running back in this game. I know both tight ends, Higbee and Uzama, are banged up. I'm pretty sure it's just about confirmed that CJ Uzama is going to play. I'm not sure that I've seen anything confirmed about Higbee. But to me, it's just, again, a schematic difference. Like, the Bengals really like to win on the outside. It's one-on-ones, it's the 9 routes, and the Rams are just a little bit more schemed up. So it's really hard to truly compare, to be quite honest with you. But, in my best to do so, I would take the Bengals. I think they're just a little bit more explosive. And I will say, though, that with that explosiveness, it's a little bit more up and down. Like, I do think Cooper Kupp, OBJ are going to have really good games, and Van Jefferson is going to be one that they go to with a play action shot, but they're almost guaranteed to have solid games. Where with Higgins and Jamar Chase and Boyd, it's going to be a little bit more up and down. We've seen with Jamar Chase him go completely quiet basically for a half, but then he'll explode in the second half. I do think that the Bengals slightly edge out the Rams in this category.
Is he breaking tight here?
Man, I'm gonna have to go with the Rams. I feel like They're more consistent. They might not be nearly as explosive. Oh, am I freezing? Sorry, my internet's just freezing up on my end. But I was gonna say the Rams, just because they're not nearly as explosive. I just feel like I like the consistency. And while I'm Odell Beckham Jr., I still believe he's the number one in the NFL. Van Jefferson is severely underrated. I feel like he doesn't get nearly enough talk. Tyler Higbee's been a solid veteran, and in the running back room, Cam Akers and son of Michelle have been very consistent. I feel like Rams just have slightly more depth, and they have more consistency, so I'm going to side with that.
The reason I pitched this question to y'all because I honestly don't know. Like, it feels like almost like evenly balanced. Maybe I want to give the Bengals the edge because I think at this point right now, Joe Mixon is slightly better than Cam Akers because Cam Akers just came back from injury, and then we saw those couple of fumbles against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that let the defending champs all the way back in the game. I will say for certain, OBJ is not OBJ. Cooper Kupp is clearly the best receiver in this game. Like, there's no ifs, ands, and buts. He was the best receiver this season in the NFL. I mean, the numbers. When you lead the league in yards, targets, receptions, touchdowns, catches of over 25 yards plus, there's no ifs, ands, and buts as to whether you're the best receiver of the season. I just don't know. I like both wide receiving. I like both skills positions. I'll give the Bengals the edge just because of Joe Mixon, slightly over Cam Akers. Yeah. But speaking of the Rams, though, we went from a situation of 2 Super Bowls ago, no home team has ever appeared in the Super Bowl, to now back-to-back seasons with, first the Buccaneers and now the Rams. But guys, and this time we'll start with you, Steezy. Do the Rams actually have a home field advantage by playing in SoFi Stadium? And I think Steezy has some technical difficulties here. So, Brain, do the Rams actually have a home field advantage playing in SoFi?
They do, but I don't think it has as much to do with really like the home crowd. And from a fan perspective, I think it's just being comfortable. It's at home. You can stick to your routines a little bit more easy. And to me, that's what it's about. Like, performance a lot is getting into your routines, making everything as consistent as possible. And I do think that they have an advantage there. In terms of like a crowd, no. I don't think they had much of an advantage in any home game, really, in that respect. Not quite to the Chargers level, but they have a couple fans. They do exist. It's just not going to be, a raucous environment. It's not going to be like Arrowhead for the Super Bowl, anything like that. Although I will say the price point on some of these Super Bowl tickets will likely turn it into, kind of an LA Stars high-class affair event of a football game. And that could end up maybe swinging the Rams just a little bit, but also probably just being a little bit quieter than a traditional big game football environment.
We know the Rams don't have fans, right?
Of course they don't have fans, but that's not why this isn't a home field advantage for the Rams. This is because there's a guy in a Bengals uniform that wears number 9 that has made a career to this point out of playing exceptionally well on the road. And his name is Joseph Lee Burrow. All right? It doesn't matter where Joe Burrow plays. It doesn't matter if he plays in Cincinnati. It doesn't matter if he plays in Tennessee. It doesn't matter if he plays in Arrowhead. It does not matter. Joe Burrow has been the best quarterback on the road this postseason. Now, granted, has a lot to do with the fact that all but one of his games has been on the road. But also, you just look at all the teams that played on the road. I don't think anybody had a better games this season on the road, except for Josh Allen, that overtime game against the Chiefs. And that's it. Joe Burrow strives under pressure. Now, to Brian's point, the Rams don't have fans anyway. They had to put an embargo on 49ers fans to prevent them from raiding the NFC Championship game, and that still didn't work. the 49ers still found a way to get their fans into the building. So, I mean, yeah, because they didn't have to fly anywhere. They stayed that they didn't have to. There's no travel. The Bengals had to come from Cincinnati to LA and then get acclimated with the time difference. The Rams, because they're here, they already know that stuff. So if you want to be technical, yes, they have the home advantage, but it doesn't matter when you've got a guy that doesn't care where he's playing. He's going to ball out. So
don't feel advantage in SoFi, do they?
No, not at all. I feel like you guys have kind of mentioned, they don't have the most fans, and that's kind of been evident by the fact that, in the last two home games, in the regular season and in the postseason against the Niners, those games, like you guys said, were rated by Niners fans. So I think it kind of speaks for itself, and Rams fans are kind of scattered. Not a lot of them make it out to LA, and I feel like a lot of people in this game, either rich or you're not rooting for the Bills. And so I don't think there's really too much to say.
Both Brian and Dwayne hit on it. There are no Rams fans to begin with anyway. And when you look at the market, I don't know who in their right mind wanted to move both the Chargers and the Rams back to LA. Like, first, you're in a market where you're contending with Lakers, the Dodgers, the Galaxy, and USC football. Those are the only 4 or 5 teams that people in LA care about anyway. To Dwayne's point, in SoFi for the two 49er games, they felt like 49er home games. And then I was reading something, and let me quickly look on the allotment of Super Bowl tickets, because this isn't a situation where the Rams have a monopoly on the tickets. This is a Super Bowl where tickets went out on sale long time. Let me read here. I think there's 1.2% of all the tickets are allotted to each team and every player, as well as also to the team's coaching staff. And I think those 2 coaching staff get 2 free tickets. Then the players themselves have an opportunity to buy 13 more tickets at face value. And the whole stadium team gets only about 10% overall of the allotment. Like, you don't have Rams fans anyway. And then with the number of tickets that are being allotted to everyone else, including teams and people who can actually afford them, it's not going to feel like a Cincinnati home game, but it definitely won't as hell feel like the Rams stadium. Like, it's just going to be SoFi. To Brian's point, they're accustomed to playing in SoFi at least, but in terms of fans, But reality is, does anyone really care about stuff on the field? I mean, most of us watch for the ads in the halftime show anyway, right? Like, and this year's halftime show, we got Dre, we got Snoop, we got Eminem, we have Kendrick Lamar, we got Mary J. Blige. Guys, this feels like it will be the best halftime show ever. Brian, can you think of a better halftime show ever, or do you think it's going to live up to the hype?
I do think it'll live up to the hype. This is, you mentioned that when I saw who was going to perform, I was like, oh, I'm actually interested in the halftime show this year. Usually that is the one part of the whole Super Bowl event that I don't watch. Like, I'll actually want to watch the commercials, even though those have been disappointing as of late, at least in my opinion. But the halftime show, this is a big plus to LA. Like, LA, it is a show. That's what you're getting first and foremost. The Lakers, they're known for they're known for winning. They're known for championships. But really what they're known for is stars. And that's kind of been their slogan, their pitch, even in free agency, is like, we treat our stars well. The Rams are really duplicating that same plan. Screw draft picks, rookies. Rookies, like, we don't want rookies. They don't sell tickets. We got Aaron Donald. We have Jalen Ramsey. Like, that's what it's about. Odell, they're going to do their best to re-sign him. So I know I veered off path a little bit there, but yes, I am looking forward to this halftime show without a doubt. All those 5 names, I'm a big fan of.
Quick, which song do you think they're going to open with? I think they're going to open with Still Dre. That's my thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, me too. I agree.
Dwayne, I know this is an older crowd for you, but as you scratching your chin, best halftime show ever or not?
Ever? No. No.
say Beyonce?
Why are we doing this? No, I'm not. No. Look,
Coldplay.
I love Dre, love Snoop, love Mary J. Blige. You know what I'm saying? Love Eminem. He's my favorite rapper in middle school. Love Kendrick Lamar. It'll be nice to see him on a stage for the first time in a long time. But this is not going to be the best halftime show ever. I mean, we're forgetting about Prince has done a halftime show. It's phenomenal. Michael Jackson's done a halftime show. That was phenomenal. Beyonce's halftime show in 2011 that made the power go out was also very, very, very good. Like, we're forgetting about a lot of really, really, really great all-time halftime. Will this one be up there? Yeah, it'll be up there because of the name. And like Brian said, if you're going to have a halftime show in Inglewood, you can't not have Snoop, right? And then you can't not have Dre, right? And then Dre and Eminem are kind of like a package deal. You know what I mean? So that kind of works. And then I'm sure Snoop probably convinced let's get Mary J. Blige. And then, you know what I'm saying? So that happened. And Kendrick, he's from LA, but like in this group of people, he's like the odd stepbrother. You know what I mean? Like everybody loves him, but he's not really like in the, you know what I mean? And then people give a lot of slack, but we can't forget about Justin Timberlake and Janet Jackson. Forget the halftime show. One of the most viral moments in Super Bowl history of all time. So will this be an interesting halftime show? Sure. I think this will be one of the very few instances in Super Bowl history where people actually sit down and watch the halftime show, because the halftime shows have kind of been a little underwhelming over the past couple of years, although I really loved The Weeknd last year because he's one of my favorite artists. But because you're old, Justin, you don't appreciate good music. But I don't know if I can say this on your show. I'm going to say it anyway. The Weeknd, look, crack is bringing back good music. Just letting you know. But yeah, this will be a good half. It'll be pretty good, but not the best one ever. No.
Steezy, what's your feeling? I mean, they're bringing back the 90s and early 2000s. How do you feel? How does this rank?
Honestly, I feel like if this was 10 years ago, then this would probably be the best halftime show of all time. No disrespect towards Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, Eminem, Mary J. Blige. These guys are all out of their These guys are a little older than, we're accustomed to seeing them. And I know we haven't seen Kendrick perform in a while, but he's been ghost. And I'm so sorry about the echoes, man. My internet's been tweaking, and so I don't even know what I can do about the echoes. But does it sound bad? Oh, okay. But yeah, look, you can call me a prisoner of the moment. You can call me a victim of recency bias. But for me, that halftime show with J-Lo and Shakira, that has to be the greatest halftime shows for me. I mean, not just because of the women themselves and the performance and the music and the dance and all that good stuff, but I just feel like the numbers prove that. And yeah, the beautiful women. And so for me, that's my most favorite. But for this one, this is definitely a lot to look forward to. I mean, last time we seen Eminem really rock the house. Same with Kendrick. So it's definitely, as far as things to look forward to, but as far as when as much hyped up for the best halftime show of all time, I think kind of reaching a little bit. But they can definitely, bring back some of their glory days. I don't know if that's possible given their ages, but definitely still be ages.
I don't know. This may be a hit or a miss, but I can't see how you put all these stars together, and especially stars that have great relationships like Dre, Snoop, and Eminem, and get a bad halftime performance. And granted, again, when's the last time we've seen Eminem on stage? As Dwayne said, getting Kendrick Lamar back on stage again, that's going to be awesome. I mean, it's going to be hard to top what Prince did, what Michael Jackson did. I think Whitney Houston once sang the national anthem, and that was just good enough for a halftime performance. Y'all are going to look at me strange when I say this, but one of the best of recent memory for me was Lady Gaga. Like, Lady Gaga's performance was like tremendous. Like, people, you may not like her music, but in terms of, I rate people live performances very, very highly. It's all nice when you're in the studio and you can get everything fixed up and edited. But Lady Gaga as an on-stage live performer, oh my gosh! And you're looking at me strange. Don't doubt me. Go back and look at the tape. Katy Perry was not bad, especially with those huge mechanical lines. I kind of like that. Lady Gaga was really, really good. Yep, y'all are looking at me strange. The tape.
I don't know. I feel like we're.
She had a great entrance.
Lady Gaga jumping on the top of the stadium was nice. You're right. I'm not saying it. I don't think it's going to be a bad halftime show. I just feel like expecting this to be the best ever, I think, is really, really the setup for a major letdown. Because if you're thinking about it, like we're talking about a lot of the great songs that like people like listening to with like Snoop and Eminem, and like you can't get on stage and say half the words in those songs. So like the options from these discographies, from these all-time great performers here, is kind of cut more than in half by like a lot. So it'll just be, like,
I don't know. I guess these guys have radio versions of their songs, and the producers behind.
But are they as good as the originals though? Are the radio edits ever as good as the songs with all the good grimy raunchiness? Are they?
That's why they brought Mary J. Blige to balance it out. And I just have to believe that the on-camera producer is going to have a hell of a lot of work to make sure to bleep and stuff. Granted, they're like, on a 5-second delay, but thank you, Janet Jackson, so very much. I got to watch that live. Yeah, but I'm going to say the camera producer is going to have a hell of a lot of work for this halftime show, but I don't see it not being at least a top 5. And shout out again to Lady Gaga. The tape doesn't lie, guys. Please go back and watch. So as we're going past the entertainment, guys, there's actually a game to play. And on the one side, we have the young upstarts that absolutely none of us outside of Cincinnati, and I don't care who you are, no one had, even the most diehard of Bengals fan did not have Cincinnati to get here. DZ, what must Cincinnati do to win their first ever Super Bowl?
I'm not going to say they got to get Joe Mixon involved. I feel like we haven't really seen a signature Joe Mixon game in the playoffs. And I truly believe he's one of the more underrated running backs when it comes to guys that can come out of the backfield, catch the football on the screen, on those wheel routes, on those, routes in the flat. I feel like I know that one roasters has been try to install a game, neutralize a pass which is vicious. Try to install a game plan, but you got to get rid of the ball quickly. And so I feel like with Joe Mixon, he can be utilized in a variety of different ways. I actually see him rushing for over 150. I see him catching, a couple of balls for 40 to 50 plus yards. I can see him easily finish 200 yards. And I know the defenses are going to focus on Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase. Oftentimes, Joe Mixon's a forgotten man. And so I feel like if they're going to have any chance of winning this football game, he's going to be heavily involved. He's heavily utilized and in the past. And if the Bengals win, I'll be surprised if he's Super Bowl.
Same question, Coach. Brian, what do the upstart Bengals have to do to win Super Bowl 56?
They've got to protect Joe Burrow. It's really that simple. If they're able to protect Joe Burrow, then they won't have any problems offensively. Defensively, it's got to be taking away what the Rams want to do. We all know they come from that Shanahan tree, but McVay and Shanahan, Kyle Shanahan, the younger, the son at least, in moments of crisis, they've gone to the air, especially when they have faith in their quarterback. So with a Stafford, with a Matt Ryan, if you remember back with the Falcons, they're going to put the ball in the air. And so if I'm the Bengals defense, I have to do everything possible to take away Cooper Kupp, regardless of the circumstance, because in those third downs, they're going to want to motion him, whether that's across the formation, whether that's motioning just to a compressed set or to a bunch, and give him the chance to make those option routes on third downs. They live on that. You've got to find a way to take that away. I do think, and a wrinkle that we saw the Cincinnati Bengals implement a lot against the Kansas City Chiefs of dropping 8, they're going to bring that out some in this game as well. And it doesn't make as much sense on paper because, again, the Rams can attack you on the ground more so than the Chiefs. And in particular, we're talking about somebody wanting to go to the air in crisis. That's Andy Reid to a T. Like, he does it to the extreme, right? The Rams, it's a little bit different, but I would expect them to do that. And don't be shocked if all of a sudden you see a big guy that usually has his hand on the ground end up intercepting a Matthew Stafford pick on one of these Cooper Kupp option routes because he's going to have his eyes somewhere else. and it just may sneak up on him. I could definitely see that playing a role. So to me, I mean, it's the stuff that isn't fancy. It's the obvious, and a lot of times, we look for all sorts of different answers, and to me, a lot of times the simplest answer is a lot of times the correct one.
Oh yeah, that's my philosophy. Simplest answer is usually the right one. Dwayne, your favorite quarterback and his team, what do they have to do to secure Super Bowl 56?
I mean, forget drop 8. They're gonna have to drop 11. I mean, look, and this is, I mean, obviously, they are, as Brian mentioned, the Rams are a bigger threat on the ground than the Chiefs are. But I'd much rather the Rams beat me on the ground than Cooper Kupp go off again for the tune of 11 reception for 142 yards and a touchdown. That can't happen. If Cooper Kupp, let's just be honest, if Cooper Kupp has more than 7 receptions and records more than 100 yards, you can just roll the trophy out at whatever time he hits those marks and just give it to the Rams, because the Bengals aren't going to be able to win this football game if Cooper Kupp is having a Cooper Kupp football game. Not only are you going to have to take Cooper Kupp out of the game and force OBJ to beat you, you're also going to have to force the ground to beat you. And more importantly, you're going to have to force Matt Stafford to beat you, right? These guys, Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay, they trust their they trust their quarterbacks in these big situations. And from what we've seen in history, every time at the biggest moment, the quarterback doesn't make the throw. Whether it's Matt Ryan in the Super Bowl a couple years ago, whether it's Jimmy Garoppolo overthrowing Emmanuel Sanders against the Chiefs a couple years ago, or whether it's Matt Stafford a litany of times over the course of this season, just not making the right play, not making the right reads, not making the right throws. So that's defensively. Offensively, you need to put as many people up front as possible, because you're not going to be able to triple team Aaron Donald and keep Von Miller and Leonard Floyd out of the backfield. It's just not happening. Protecting Joseph Lee Burrow is pivotal, not just for winning this football game, but for long-term success for the Cincinnati Bengals, so that they don't revert back to the Cincinnati Bengals. You're going to need CJ Uzomah to be up there pass blocking. You're going to need Chris Evans, Samaje Perine, Joe Mixon. All this is going to be a all hands on deck approach, and we're going to see a lot of instances, I think, offensively for the Bengals, where it's going to simply just be Chase, Higgins, and Boyd as the only 3 guys running routes, because you have to give Joe Burrow time. He was the number 1 rated quarterback with a clean pocket this season at 95.4. You give him a clean pocket, you give him a shot. He will not have a clean pocket if Aaron Donald, Leonard Floyd, and Von Miller are in his lap every single play. He's not mobile. We're not going to see him throwing passes horizontal from the ground and throwing passes 45 yards back behind the line of scrimmage like Pat Mahomes did last season in the Super Bowl. It's not going to work. He's just not that mobile. He's best feet set in the pocket. His pocket presence is second to none. I think he has the best pocket presence of any young quarterback in the NFL, and he is extremely, extremely, extremely surgical. They're going to have to steal a page out of the 49ers book too and run the football a lot. Keep this defense honest. Don't let them know that you're going to be just throwing it deep to Higgins, Boyd, and Chase all game. So it's going to take all hands on deck offensively and defensively, but they'll get it done.
I'll steal a page out of each of your book and say, first, you're going to have to establish your run and work those screen passes that were so effective against Kansas City. I think that's the best way to attack a team that wants to get after you. Let them get up the field and put it right behind them. And I think you saw 4, 5, 6 screen passes against Kansas City where Joe Mixon completely just went off. And I think you're going to have to utilize that part of your game, because if you're dropping back 35 to 40 times, this game is over. That's what the Rams want you to do. And you can't get down in a hole quickly. So I feel you just have to utilize the running game and those screen passes. But to the biggest point, as y'all mentioned, each of you, you're going to have to disrupt whatever timing between Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp. And I know it's easier said than done, especially Kupp likes to operate out of the slot, and it's really, really hard to double team people from there. It really, really is hard. Here's a stat I brought on Germ's show the other night, and, the number just says it all. The Rams are 13-1 when Cooper Kupp finds the end zone. So basically, they're unbeatable when Cooper Kupp gets into the end zone. They're meager 2-4 when he doesn't. So clearly, it's easier said than done. We're going to have to do something to get that connection off tilt. Because if not, like Dwayne said, could as well just hand the Rams their Super Bowl trophy at home and call it Wally. On the flip side, though, and Brian, will start with you. What must the LA Rams do to ensure a victory at home?
The Rams, it's going to start with that defensive front. It's going to start with Aaron Donald, Von Miller, and Leonard Floyd. One thing, we always talk about edge rushers because they typically are the best pass rushers. They get the sack numbers, but truly what makes it hardest on a quarterback and why you see Aaron Donald get so much respect around the league is pressure up the middle is what absolutely kills quarterbacks. There's ways to manage pressure coming off the edge. You can step up in the pocket. But when it's coming right at your face, that's where you see a lot of interceptions. You can't step into a throw. You can't really escape, especially like Marcus was saying. Burrow is mobile. I would say he's mobile, but he is not a Josh Allen. He's not a Patrick Mahomes. He doesn't have that kind of escapability. So to me, that's where it starts with them defensively. Jalen Ramsey, this is the time that you earn your money. They won that trade with the Jags, don't get me wrong, but this is really where you stamp your case. Like, you're going against an elite quarterback receiving options, particularly Jamar Chase. Like, this is earn your money. And then on offense, I think it's really important that the Rams are able to run the ball. It's going to be really important that they're able to run the ball, stay on schedule. The first question of the show was about who's going to need to have the bigger game. I answered Burrow. But statistically, it's going to have to be Matthew Stafford. Like, Burrow, I think, can play better with 250 yards, 2 touchdowns than Stafford, if that makes sense. Like, if Stafford has 250 yards, that's likely a really bad sign. If he has 2 touchdowns, he's really going to need to do much more than that, I think, in this game, unless we are talking, a 17-14 game, which is within the realm of possibility. So to me, the defensive front, especially pressure up the middle, and then on offense, staying on schedule, they're going to have to run the ball better than they have of recent, or we're going to see that Stafford mistake.
Same thing, Steezy. Keys to LA victory.
Like you guys said earlier, I think the simplest answer is the answer. And it's really just not to turn the football over. I think every time Matthew Stafford, I know they've survived games in which Matthew Stafford's offense has either self-imploded or they've had a bunch of turnovers and whatnot. But I just feel like at the end of the day, and ultimately, the amount of talent on this football team, they're literally talented on every single level, both sides of the football, maybe even special teams. So as long as they're not self-imploding, they're not moving backward, they're not making mistakes, and they're not giving the Bengals extra possessions, that talent's going to win out. And ultimately, Matthew Stafford throws 2 or 3 picks, and the defense doesn't pick up for that, or the running game isn't picking up the slack, then I think that definitely lessens the chances of winning the football game. But as long as they play a clean game and they're not giving the Bengals extra possessions, I think that's really the only thing they need to focus on. It's not turning the football and winning the tournament.
Dwayne, you're going to expose your hand here because I know who you have to win this game. But still, keys to LA victory.
I'm 75% sure Matt Stafford throws a first quarter interception. So once that's out of the way, then it becomes Matt Stafford then needs to avoid throwing the ever so apparent fourth quarter interception, because usually with Matt Stafford, if he gives you one in the first quarter, he's going to come back and give you one in the fourth. So outside of that, this is, and I'm not going to go Aaron Donald because Aaron Donald's going to have a big game, win or lose for the Rams. This is more so on Sean McVay. And this is something that I don't think that we talk about a lot with Sean McVay. Sean McVay, since getting OBJ, from that first 49ers game on, all they wanted to do, run or pass, is line up trips. It's either three to the left, 1 to the right, or vice versa, or 2 on each side. You can't do that. Like, you cannot run trips 75% of the game and expect to walk out of SoFi as Super Bowl champion. It's not happening. You are not going to succeed that way. It's not going to work. And he's going to try. He's 1,000% going to do it. And that's not a recipe for success. And the reason why that's not a recipe for success is because as much as I love Matt Stafford can't get out of Matt Stafford's own way sometimes. And Matt Stafford's going to throw a lot of questionable footballs. This is a physical defense. not a great defense. It's not a world-beating defense, but the Bengals have a physical defense. And I don't have much faith, a lot of faith, in 50-50 balls going Matt Stafford's way more than 50% of the time. That's not good. So they're going to have to stay away from that, and they're going to have to pound the rock. Like, that's what it's going to have to come down to. You're going to have to beat this defense up because as young and as inexperienced as this team is, they won't go down without a fight. And if this does not turn into a game of attrition, the Rams are going to lose. Because if this is a shootout, I have my money on the Bengals. I have my money on the Bengals anyway. But I have money on the Bengals even more because eventually it's going to come down to that one critical Matt Stafford mistake. So once we get past the Matt Stafford interception in the first quarter, then it's just all going to have to turn into a big game for Cam Akers. Almost said his real name. Steezy said earlier that Joe Mixon could go off for the tune of potentially 200 scrimmage yards altogether. Cam Akers has to. Whatever Joe Mixon does, Cam Akers needs to say, hold my beer, I can do better. Because if they can't run the football, if they can't use Cam Akers effectively, if they can't use Sony Michel to a lesser degree effectively out of the backfield, whether it's via the run or in the pass, this isn't going to be this is not going to be an easy game for the Rams. And the last thing, like Brian said, 250-2 is not going to be a good sign for Matt Stafford unless this is a grind them out game. 250-2 for Joe Burrow is great because he's going to be playing against a stout defense. 250-2 for Matt Stafford is going to be a letdown. Matt Stafford needs to be around 350-4 in order for these guys to have a legitimate shot at winning. Because it's just, unless this turns into a really physical running game, which is not going to happen because Sean McVay likes to run past the football. 350-4 is the bar for Matt Stafford. Anything less than that, obviously, like 303 is fine. But I mean, like anything completely under that, completely subpar from that, the Rams are in trouble. They're in trouble anyway because they're playing against Joseph Lee Burrow. But
I'm going to tell you, Dwayne, do not expect a big game for Cam Akers because that's not what Sean McVay is coming to do. No team has run more 3 wide receiver sets than the aforementioned LA Rams, and I don't think Sean McVay is coming to be something else today, and he'd be silly to all of a sudden come to try to do something that he's not accustomed to doing. I like Brian saying one simple quote. The simplest answer is usually the right one. And it's going to be very simple. And this is going to sound cliche, guys, so forgive me. You just don't turn over the football. It's as simple as that, right? And I know that sounds, easier said than done. But again, the very same stat I gave you for a Kupp apparently is the same stat that, suits Matt Stafford. The Rams are a shocking 13-1 when Matt Stafford only throws 1 interception or less. Again, on the flip side, the very same situation with Kupp. They are 2-4 when Matt Stafford throws 2 interceptions or more. So the equation is clearly simple and right there for you. Do not turn over the football. But I'm with Dwayne, there are some throws that Matt Stafford puts on the football field that he probably wishes he has back. And the Rams are likely lucky to be here because the 49ers should just have taken one of those interceptions and we're talking about a whole different Super Bowl matchup. I fear for what Sean McVay is going to put Matt Stafford in. I love Stafford, but he can get a little reckless and gun hole with the football. And the entire football world knows where he wants to go with the football. The key here has to be just do not turn over the football, and you're likely going to win the game because the 13-1 win record tells me such. So, Steezy, we have kept people here for, I think, about 40 minutes just to answer one question. So let's get to it and stop wasting our viewers' time. Who wins Super Bowl 56? Why do they win Super Bowl 56? And I'm throwing in an extra caveat that I didn't prepare y'all for. Who is Super Bowl 56 MVP?
Man, so my heart's telling me Cincinnati. Obviously, I want Cincinnati to win. As a Seahawks fan, there's just no way I could ever root for the Rams. There's no way I could ever wish to see them win. And to see them fail on the biggest stage in the world, that would mean a lot to me. But ultimately, I don't see that happen. I think the Cinderella run ends here for the Bengals. And I hate to say that. I don't think that this is their last Super Bowl anytime soon. They'll definitely be in the Super Bowl for many years to come. But I just feel like the Rams are destined to win it this year. They're built to win it this year. They have superior talent. And although in a way they're home, but they're technically not home, just because I know that it's supposed to be at the site of what AFC's team. And so that's why the Bengals is the home team. I don't think that matters. The fact that they're not going to have many fans, I don't think it's going to matter. I just like the Rams. Yeah, look, this is their year, and if they don't win this year, then I don't really see the window being open for that much longer. So I just feel like it's the Rams year, and and with the Rams, they're just the most talented team. That the Bengals are playing against. I know the Chiefs overall are a better football team, but the Rams are more balanced all around. Man, I just like, man, I can't see the Bengals. So I think the Rams win 30-31. And I think my Super Bowl MVP is actually a guy that a lot of people forgot, OBJ. I know Joe Mixon to finish the 200 plus scrimmage yards. I think OBJ comes in at number to post 160, 170 yards and 50 touchdowns. I think he's going to take some shine. He's going to run the road that he's going to receiver in the NFL still, and Super Bowl MVP with Jr.
Hold on a second, guys. Yeah, that's Pete Carroll calling to ask you back for that Seattle Seahawks helmet, telling you can't be a Seahawks fan. It's here betting on the Rams. So whenever you have a chance, if you can get to, CenturyLink and take back that Seattle Seahawks helmet, yeah, Pete Carroll will be, really appreciative. Brian, scene question. Who wins Super Bowl 56? Why do they win Super Bowl 56? And give me your MVP.
All right, yeah. So I'm with Steezy in the sense that the Rams are the much better team. They just flat out are. And really, especially the most important parts of the games, like in the trenches. One thing to really watch out for is the team who has won the coin toss has lost the Super Bowl 7 straight times. 7 straight times. So that's just something to keep your eye on. That may be just the first indicator. I do think that the Rams get off to a great first quarter, and in particular first half. Their, offensive coaches especially, they get going with the script, and it's going to look similar, just to a less degree, but to that Bucs game where Stafford's going to look amazing. They're going to be on time, on schedule, and they're going to build a 10-point lead going into the halftime. However, after that, I think, is where we've seen Sean McVay and Stafford slip up. That's where, when the script is gone, when things get a little bit tighter, I still don't think he has 100% trust in Matthew Stafford. And we've seen Matthew Stafford, as much as he has really been good, he just has some skeletons in the closet. And it just hasn't burnt him yet. It just hadn't quite burnt him yet. And it's going to this game. It's going to be a little bit of an ugly game for the Bengals. I think Joe Burrow is your Super Bowl MVP. Bengals win 23-20. McPherson's going to have a big role in this game. There's going to be the Joe Burrow haters. I'm going to go ahead and say it. They're going to say that the kicker, Evan McPherson, should win Super Bowl MVP after he kicks 3 field goals, which I think is ridiculous, but be prepared for that narrative. And I think Joe Burrow just is gritty, guts one out. He's going to go, something like 31 for 42, 275 yards, and like maybe 1 touchdown. And so people are going to be saying, oh, he got carried, defense carries him, all that sort of thing. But I think the Rams, everything works except the final score. Like, I think they're going to sack Burrow 7 times. I think everything's going to be good. Cooper Kupp's going to get his numbers. It's just they're going to find a way at the end of the game, similar to that Bucs one. Like, how is this tied? Like, how is this close? And then, man, the Bengals, they're just going to put the dagger in late. Joe Shiesty, franchise, Joey Smokes, Joe Burr, all the nicknames. He's the Super Bowl MVP.
This has been a plot twist out of this world. I did not see this coming. I don't think Steezy saw this one coming either. I mean, I could turn over to Dwayne, but we all on this show have heard Dwayne for the entire week. We're going to go to Dwayne anyway because he is our favorite guest here. Dwayne, it's going to be 3 words, so I'm going to give you the 3 words. Take it away.
Joseph Lee Burrow. Joseph Lee, listen. I don't care about Matt Stafford. I don't care about Cooper Kupp. I don't care about Odell Beckham Jr. I don't care about any of that. I don't care about any of it. Joseph Lee Burrow. Listen, the one thing I haven't said this week, and I was saving it for this show, I wanted to get Justin's live reaction on his show when I say this before. Up close and personal. This is eerily similar to just a short 11 some odd years ago.
Don't say it. Don't do
when
that.
the Green Bay Packers went into the Super Bowl and won. This is very, very similar. We weren't supposed to be in the Super Bowl that year. Nobody had us going. We were the underdogs all the way through. And here we have it. Now, I definitely hope that Joe Burrow's career doesn't end up how Aaron Rodgers' career has ended for the last 10 years with just a whole bunch of close calls. But that's not the point. The point is,
ends like Aaron Rodgers. He's a top 5 quarterback of all time. So
yeah, but I want better for Joe Burrow. Joseph Lee Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals are strutting into SoFi Stadium tonight. They're dropping 27 points. Evan Money McPherson is kicking the game-winning field goal. Scores will be 27-24. Joe Shiesty, Joey Franchise, Joseph Lee Burrow, the first of his lineage, is walking into SoFi Stadium, the Tiger King, and walking out Super Bowl MVP, Super Bowl champion, King of Cincinnati. He is going to return the Cincinnati Bengals to relevance. I've been saying it all season. I said it on Stuff About Sports. I said it on Friday on my show, and I'm going to say it again. I'm going to piss off Justin, and I don't care. I don't care about Carson Palmer. I don't care about Andy Dalton. I don't
say it.
After
Do it.
winning the Super Bowl tonight, Joseph Lee Burrow will stamp himself as the greatest quarterback in the history of the Cincinnati Bengals franchise. Do you know why? Because he will have had a Super Bowl, and Andy Dalton, Carson Palmer, and Boomer Esiason, and however many years they played for the Bengals combined, couldn't get the job done. Thank you. Joseph Lee Burrow is a legend.
So before I continue here and give you my picks, let me just tell the fans and viewers, the quite impressionable people I may have watching the show, Boomer Esiason is indeed the greatest Cincinnati Bengals quarterback to have ever lived. Don't let anyone trick you.
Until 11 o'clock tonight when Joe Burrow wins the Super Bowl.
Don't let anyone trick you. Please research Boomer Esiason. He does have an MVP, folks.
But does he have a Super Bowl?
He did reach a Super Bowl, and the only reason we are saying that Boomer Esiason is not a Super Bowl champion is because he faced arguably the greatest quarterback of all time in Joe Montana. This is not arguable the greatest wide receiver of all time in, oh my God, why are names failing me right now? Jerry Rice.
Yeah. I don't care about your ifs, your ands, or your buts. The point is, he don't got one.
And arguably,
Joey B got one.
And those three men needed a last ditch possession to beat Boomer Esiason. So please, folks, do not think that Joe Burrow right now is the greatest quarterback in Cincinnati history.
He's not.
In
10 short hours, he will be.
I will say, I do think he's going to be the only active player to get a statue built for him. Like, if he wins the Super Bowl, they're going to pull a straight Philly, and there's going to be a statue of Joe Burrow going into his third year.
No argument there.
You know why? Because he's not the greatest quarterback of all time in Cincinnati history.
Right? That statue is being built as we speak up. Like, Cincinnati's not playing. Like, that statue is going, if they win, that statue is going to be up tomorrow. I guarantee it. The issue is, though, unfortunately, folks, they're not going to win. And I am ashamed in Coach Brian Bolster for saying this. He knows that football games are decided in the trenches. They are won on the lines. And I can't sit down here as a reasonable human being knowing full well that the Cincinnati Bengals offensive line is one of the worst in the NFL, and the Rams have one of the best defensive fronts, with arguably the greatest defensive lineman we've ever seen in Aaron Donald, flanked by Leonard Floyd and Von Miller. I do not know how Joe Burrow stands up straight. We saw him get sacked 9 times against Tennessee and got away with his life. There's no Ryan Tannehill on the other side to give him 3 extra possession, guys. Matt Stafford is just not better.
Are we sure about that?
Well, I mean, that's a fair point. But I think Matt Stafford is better than Ryan Tannehill. I think the Rams get it done. There's just like that mismatch on that offensive line, defensive line, that scrimmage. it just looks too bad, and I can't bet. I love Joe Burrow. I love Joe Shiesty. I love Joe Burr. I love Joe Smooth, Joe Cool. I love all the nicknames. I love the kid. He's likable. He's lovable. He is a franchise quarterback. He is what a number one overall pick is supposed to be. This is what you want in your franchise leader. But you've heard me say it over and over again. Quarterbacks get too much praise and they get too much blame for wins and losses. It's going to take an overall team effort. And Brian correctly said the better team is the Los Angeles Rams. Sean McVay will try his best to lose this game, but Aaron Donald is not going to have any part of that. And here's my shocker, guys. Matt Stafford is going to get MVP because, again, we like to give quarterbacks too much credit for wins and losses. Matt Stafford quits all the doubters. He's not a Hall of Fame quarterback for me, by the way, but he quits the doubters, wins Super Bowl 56 MVP, and the Rams take it home, guys, 30-24. I agree with Brian. They hop up to a quick start. Sean McVay tries his best, challenges some bad call, loses that challenge, has no more timeouts, calls a bunch of rubbish. The Bengals get back in this game. But we're forgetting there's another dip kicker in this game, and his name is Matt Gay, and he doesn't really miss many field goals, and he's kicking at home in a dome where he is comfortable kicking field goals. 30-24, the LA Rams. So, guys, I know Steve
Justin, just real quick. Let me just ask you one quick question before we out. Aaron
Charles Donald.
It doesn't even sound the same. It stops trying to steal my shtick, bro. Who is the most sacked quarterback in the NFL this season?
Joe Burrow.
Oh, and Joe Burrow's playing in the Super Bowl, right?
Yep, he is.
Okay, and Evan McPherson kicked several game-winning field goals outside this postseason, right? So don't kickers usually play better in the dome?
Yeah. Yes, I do.
All right, I just wanted to make sure we're on the same page here. Okay, we're good.
Just remember,
Joseph Lee Burrow.
I'm
coming on this show tomorrow night with a custom-made Joseph Lee Burrow jersey. And that's all I'm going to say. Every answer to every question is Joseph Lee Burrow. I promise you it's happening.
We're going to look forward to that. Just remember Matt Gay is on the other side. So before we hang up, and we have to hang up quickly, or at least let Steezy go because I think he has a live show going. So Steezy, plug your stuff, including that live show. Please, whenever you're done here, go right over to Steezy A. Smith. I'm going to let him plug it himself.
Hey, well, thank you so much, Justin. It was truly a pleasure, truly an honor to do this with you, Dwayne. As always, I'm see you in a little bit. Brian, nice to finally work with you. Yeah, like Justin said, on my channel on YouTube, this will be my first live stream ever, so I'm hoping there won't be any internet issues, as I apologize for any that I might have caused during this episode. But 12 o'clock p.m. Pacific time, so in approximately about an hour, head on over to YouTube at DZA Smith. I will be hosting my first live stream on YouTube. The Super Bowl pregame show. I'll have Dwayne on there. I'll have a couple of other guests on there. I'm expecting about 3 or 4 people, maybe 5 together. So come kick it with us for the Super Bowl. I know a lot of people are anxiously waiting. I know people are kind of just looking for something to do. So if you're looking for something to do, come on over. Kick it with us. Ask this on YouTube. To everybody that tuned in here, thank you so much. Hope you guys enjoy the Super Bowl. Shop some love, all that good stuff. Much love.
Stevie hop right out here, and also Dwayne, because clearly he has to join that show. So, Dwayne Marcus, plug your stuff as well and hop over to Stevie.
Yeah, man, you can follow me on Instagram. Twitter, TikTok at GTP Marcus. Did my own Super Bowl preview on Friday. It was much bigger than this, just for bragging rights. I feel like I needed to say that. Was there
1.4 thousand views, so yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I'll be on Steezy's show in a bit. I'll be on here again tomorrow night, bragging and talking about the great Joseph Lee Burrow, first in his name. And then this Friday, I'll have Spencer fielding a full court talk on the show. We'll break down the trade deadline and talk about the All-Star weekend. So, yeah.
Brian, plug your stuff so we can hop on out and get our pregame snacks ready for Super Bowl 56.
Yeah, make sure to follow me, Bolstered Up Sports, on Twitter and TikTok. You got to also check out the Warzone Sports Network YouTube channel. You'll catch my show, Sports Force, this Tuesday with Joe Skirto. Again, appreciate you, Justin.
And guys, as Brian said, it's unfortunate that the winner of the coin toss has lost 7 straight Super Bowls. So I just let the Rams know, tails never fails. So avoid tails, choose heads, lose the Super Bowl toss, and win that game so I can rub it in Dwayne's face that Aaron Charles Donald is the best player on the football field. So, guys,
I think, just real quick, I think, again, I have to say, both of my guys are playing in this hoop. Like, I don't lose here. I get to come on this show tomorrow and brag either way. Because you wanted to focus on Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield and Matt Stafford and Joe Burrow, both of whom I told you would have good seasons this year, are playing in the Super Bowl. How do I walk out of this game and lose? That's all I'm saying.
He's betting 500, guys. Betting 500 because he chose Sam Darnold, like Coach Brian Bolster, but he chose Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield to have good seasons. So don't mind him. He's batting 500. Guys, I'm going to let guys hop out of here. So for Stevie A. Smith, Brian Bolster, and Dwayne Marcus, I am the Justin of this Justin. Please enjoy Super Bowl 56. Don't eat too much and bet that the winning team will pour orange Gatorade on their coach. Have a good Super Bowl.
I don't have a mark on my face, and my upset son in Lisbon, and I just turned 22 years old. I must be the greatest. I told the world, I talk to God every day. If God's with the kingdom matter, you're just the same. I shook up the world. I shook up the world. I shook up the world. I shook up the world.
I said, can I be a legend? Search your soul and answer me this question. Do you think I have what it takes to be great, but still be humble and learn from my mistakes? Shit.